Okay, so I ended up changing the date to 1879 because that's where we technically begin. And yes, I wanted to first thank you, John, and the Regional History and, the Department of Regional History and Genealogy for accepting my proposal. I do get the library emails, which is why I even applied to this. And then I wanted to say a special thank you to Hillary in the Pioneers Museum archives and Ben in Special Collections. They both thoughtfully assisted me in using our precious historical artifacts for this presentation. I also want to thank my family and friends for showing me that resources are all around and curiosity is very fun. So let's begin. I did end up putting most of my text into the presentation so you can follow along to the lull of my voice, or you can read along. So the gist. During the Pikes Peak Gold Rush, Colorado Springs flourished and grew dramatically. This presentation attempts at getting specific about some of the original jewelers of our area and what they were actually selling. Did they make the jewelry? Did they use gold directly from our mountains? Were they reselling goods manufactured in Rhode Island and New York, who were our manufacturing kings at the time? This is a photograph from one of the stores, very elaborate. Look at the furniture, the cases. So when I began my research for this proposal, I had great hopes of finding evidence that connected the riches pouring out of our mountainside to the jewelers of the area in terms of using the gold directly and physically making jewelry to sell to its patrons. The evidence I found from our special collections and Pioneers Museum archives resulted in some different discoveries and on some speculation. Being a jeweler myself, it also has me personally wanting to be more aware of where my materials come from, what titles really mean, how people perceive these titles, and who really cares. So we begin in the Colorado Springs business directories of 1879 and 1880. There were 5 jewelers listed, all on Tejon or just off. Some other businesses you would have found were 2 ice cream parlors, 16 laundries, 4 lumber dealers, and 9 livery stables, just to name a few. By 1886, a recent local furniture maker, salesman, and embalmer named Richard Ashby sold his businesses and bought G.S. Swope's jewelry store, who had been in business since 1879. So we have a gorgeous painting of Ashby's store circa 1905 and a photo of himself. He's on the far left with the beard, with unknown others. Although Ashby briefly went into partnership in 1890 as Ashby and Rieple, selling real estate, loans, and insurance. So this might be the crew. So by this point in my research, I'm wondering if Ashby had an actual jeweler on staff. He was an actual skilled carpenter. His great-grandson, Donald C. Gabby, had an oak dressing table that his wife used, a grandfather clock, an inlaid desk, and a carved barometer case. I tried to reach out to Ashby's great-grandson, who was in Miami, Florida, but he actually passed away last fall. So the word jeweler can mean a few things, even to this day. Ashby was a businessman in the jewelry business. I am a jeweler who is skilled in physically making jewelry with my hands. Some jewelers have a jeweler like me in-house, others do not, and ship out goods to other jewelry houses. Does anyone care about this distinction? Well, I suspect we're a curious crew, so I will continue to paint the scene. Around this time, the influx of wealth from gold mines like the Independence and the Portland precipitated a stock exchange to trade this wealth around. In 1899, over 236 million shares were sold with a cash value of nearly $34 million. Of course, business would increase as there was plenty of business to go around. There were 13 jewelers by 1900 and 21 jewelers listed in 1903, and the population would have been around 30,000. So 21 jewelers for the small town, but growing. Among them were Pond and Ellithorpe. Here are these handsome illustrations here. An enterprising jewelry firm. These manufacturing jewelers were located at 412 Colorado Avenue. Squire Pond, a first-class watchmaker, partnered with Henry Ellithorpe, a thorough watchmaker, had a jewelry stock described as complete, embracing a full line of the best watch movements, solid gold and filled cases, chains, rings, and charms in endless profusion. It appears they took orders. Jewelry manufactured in quaint and original designs from native stones, and maybe they cut the stones. In an article that says for which purpose they're now adding water power. I would love to know what that water power was doing. Perhaps they helped furnish the setting of wire and quartz ring that Officer Elliott and the police department presented to Marshal Gothright on his 41st birthday, as a token of the high esteem in which he was held by all of the members of the police department. Since the quartz was from a collection of Colorado minerals that was exhibited at the World's Fair, perhaps it was cut right here in our area. I'm not sure. Check this out though. So here we have in the Rain, the leading jeweler clip here, they list the prices of what they were selling for bargains in our store this week. A $25 solid gold watch, a 14 karat filled case, 15 jewel Elgin or Waltham movement for $15, a genuine solitaire diamond ring for $40. Prices are very different today. These items are also listed in E.V. Rodden & Co.'s 1895 catalog, which is a real aha for my research, since I'm most interested in what these manufacturing jewelers were actually up to. It is unlikely that Rodden & Co. in Chicago, Illinois actually made the items they sold. Rodden only worked in solid gold and probably only made specialty bracelets and pins. So here we have a jewelry house in a city who had over 1 million people in 1890 who probably wasn't making their own jewelry. So comparing that historical synopsis with the Colorado Springs area, the local jeweler scene is shaping up to be more buyers of goods sold with maybe enough equipment to set stones and do some repair work. Not unlike today, we use ads, resumes, the press, and social media to put our best foot forward, promoting ourselves to try and capture customers. Local jeweler, an actual jeweler, Mark Burgess of Burgess Jewelry Design off South Nevada, opinionates that manufacturing jeweler was probably the title to use of that time, along with & Co. Mark's father was a businessman in the 1960s and 70s, owner of Gross Diamond Centers, Gross Diamond Co., and M.J. Christensen Jewelers. Mark says his dad was solely a businessman who didn't make jewelry. So getting back to our local history, there seemed to be some jewelry trade skills in our stores. C.F. Arcularius, I love that name, opened a new high-class jewelry store on Tejon Street in 1902. Although he had been around since 1897-98. He is probably described as an experienced jeweler and silversmith, and the manufacturing department of the business will at all times be under his personal supervision. So that was written in one of the ads. I would absolutely take a time machine to see what that clip means. Did he open large parcels from New York and Rhode Island and supervise the already manufactured goods being placed into his cases? Did he ever dirty his fingers with red rouge or polishing compound of that time? Reynolds, the jeweler, claims in a 1904 ad, honest goods at honest prices, everything guaranteed. Fine watch repairing a specialty. Graduate optician, eyes tested free. Clock and jewelry repairing. All right, let's see. Where did I go? Can't see here. Okay. J.H. Nelson Jewelry Company had a diamond ring, gold watch, and mantle clock giveaway in 1905. Did he have an actual jeweler in-house at his general store and optical business? A.W. Clark put in a new and complete line of watches, clocks, jewelry, and silverware, where he proceeds to tell us that he will make a specialty of fine repairing and optical work. It says in the same ad, our experience comprises 14 years practical experience, nearly 3 years of which were spent in the finishing department of the Elgin Watch Factory. Don't buy a watch until you get my prices. We'll make a specialty of railroad watches. Everything hand engraved, free, no waiting. The Elgin Watch Factory was in Elgin, Illinois. A.W. Clark was formerly with the J.H. Nelson Jewelry and Optical Co., who was bought out by Harry Engel in 1905. Engel also bought C.W. Reynolds stock, who had been a jeweler since 1904 and was still in the directory in 1906. Besides the shop view of Richard Ashby, which I showed earlier, here is F.H. Small & Co. Also had, so here's his shop photographed and was in the Facts magazine at the end of 1901. It appears he and his bride had plans to make Cripple Creek their home in 1898. But if they did, it didn't last too long before they moved to the Springs. Mr. Small had taken over the established S.S. Bernard and Company. By 1905, F.H. Small & Co. is no longer in the business directory. I thought the F.H. Small & Co., that was my favorite ad, which actually sewing like something of silver. Thought that was odd that the other ads didn't show the actual items. Meanwhile, in the Pioneers Museum archives, they have original jewelry boxes and items from Richard Ashby. There's a jewelry box in there. F.G. Hayner Jeweler. There's one of the longer boxes. Arcularius & Co. W.J. Pizer Jewelry and Jeweler and Optician. So that was really exciting to actually see some actual artifacts. In conclusion, although I did not find evidence that directly connected jewelry makers to our gold, I did learn that the California and Pikes Peak gold rushes helped establish our 14-karat gold common standard, and that the massiveness and specialization of jewelry manufacturing in the East created a great time for businesses to offer jewelry goods to their buyers across the country. This might be obvious, but it's worth noting. I have learned over time that some of the ins and outs of the industry are mysterious, and maybe were back then as well. Gold, recycled gold, today, gold, recycled gold, gold-filled versus gold-plated, natural diamonds, ethical diamonds, lab-grown diamonds, and handmade jewelry can all have some ambiguity in their relative definitions. How, oops, someone's unmuted. And in their relative definitions. I'm hopeful that I can be more transparent with the ins and outs of my business as I am inspired by the resources I found. I think this research started out as general curiosity that people would be interested in, and it became personal to my own interests and business endeavors. Stay tuned. Maybe my next research effort will take me deeper into another gold mine. Thank you very much.